We finished this $37,000 concrete job in exactly 4 days. And in this video, I'm gonna show you 1, how we got this lead, number 2, how I priced it, and number 3, how we closed the deal even though we were more expensive than the competition. So number 1, how we got this lead was through our website. You know, I see a lot of other people talking about how, oh, referrals is the best source of income. And, you know, if you're not getting referrals, if you're not doing that word of mouth marketing, then you're doing it wrong. And those videos kind of drive me crazy because when I was first starting my business, and most likely if you're watching my channel, you're probably not a super seasoned contractor because it would probably be a little bit boring because you're like, yeah, dude, I do $37,000 jobs all the time in 4 days. Like, that's not that interesting, right? So if you're watching this video, most likely you're trying to figure out, how do I get into this type of work? And yes, word of mouth marketing and getting referrals is awesome. And the longer that you're in business, the easier that it is, right? I always like to say that business is just like a rocket ship, and 90% of the effort and the fuel that it takes is just to get into the atmosphere. That's the same thing with launching a business, because the longer that you're in business, the more people know about you. You get referrals, you get all that stuff. It does get easier. But I'm trying to make this video for you if you're trying to figure out how to get into this work to begin with, because let me tell you that it doesn't just come from referrals, because you have to have people know you first. So how do people get known? And I get referrals, but I get tons of leads that are not referrals too. And so that's what this one came from. It was just a normal lead. It came through our website. I'm actually gonna post a screenshot of the lead here to show you guys exactly, you know, when it came through, the timeline. We got it on September 26th at 8:40 in the morning. And what was funny is originally this lead just wanted a shed pad and then maybe a driveway, which is crazy. And that was, I'm making this video now on December 8th. So it's been about 2 months since I've actually gotten this lead, but I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. And you can even see here that it came through a pricing page on our website, which is pretty cool, right? The main thing that we're doing is we're putting out, one, a really high quality website that ranks, but then we're also putting out relevant information that my customer would want to see, right? And because I'm putting out relevant information that my customer would want to see, that's how they find me online. That's how they find my business. They go to my, you know, Google profile, they see all my reviews, and then it causes them to reach out, right? That's just a really well executed marketing strategy. And this happens day in and day out, which we're going to talk a little bit more to begin with. So, but that's number 1, right? Like, before you even get leads like this, you're not going to be able to get jobs like this. So that's number 1. Got to have marketing, got to have leads, okay? So number 2, and I get asked this all the time, is how I price these projects. And everyone always talks about, oh, what's your per square foot pricing? And just for you people, I'm going to say what my per square foot pricing is, but that doesn't mean that's how I came up with my number, because I'm not ignorant with my numbers. If that's how you're pricing your jobs, then it's wrong. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. So we did a foundation / garage slab. So it was funny, when the lead first reached out, they just wanted a pad for a shed. And then what it ended up turning into is a 720 square foot, basically shop pad. And it was a monolithic pour. We did everything from the foundation, you know, all the excavation, the actual shop floor. It's poured monolithically. So that means that we pour it all at once. And it was priced at a little over $30 per square foot. Basically, for 720 square feet, we charged $21,500, okay? So that's a little over 30 square feet. And you'll notice in the lead form before, he wanted a separate quote for a driveway, and that was gonna be a future project, not a project at the same time. I'm about to talk about this in a little bit, but you guys will see why it is so important that we do bids differently than our competition. Because if people do projects at the same time, it saves time, right? We're more efficient. I could get in and out of the project. I only have to bring my machine once. While people are working on the garage foundation, or say we're pouring that, then I could already have my demo team be demoing out the driveway, and it's basically gonna be ready to go the next day, right? So efficiency is key, because efficiency for me means that I can be more competitive in my pricing, which means my customer is a happy, happy man, right? That's the whole purpose. So then the driveway pricing came out at $11 per square foot. And I'm gonna talk about this, But that's actually a really cheap cost per square foot for us because we're getting driveways anywhere in between, say, like $13 to $20 a square foot, depending on size, access, level of prep needed, etc. But this one came in a lot cheaper, okay? But I'm gonna talk about how I actually priced it. Okay, so number one is I started with the shop floor / foundation, right? Which came in at a little over 700 square feet. And because we were pricing this out as the most important item for the customer, because this is what they wanted no matter what, it included all of my fixed expenses. Like it included bringing out all of my equipment. It also takes my crew a little bit longer to get started on jobs when we first get there because they have to understand the project, right? So there's inefficiencies literally just with starting projects. You got to mobilize, you got to bring out the team, everyone's got to go out there. We have to sit all of our guys down and show them exactly what's going on so they know what the job is and all that stuff, right? So there's inefficiencies. So this is a little bit more expensive, but that's okay. So what I do is I do man-hour pricing. So what we determined is that it would take us about 70 hours to prep up. With 2 people, it would take about 3.5 days. But because we were doing the driveway at the same time, I could bring more people and half of them could work on the driveway, half of them can work on the shop floor. So we had a total of 105 man hours to prep and pour this job. And I charge $88.25 per man hour. Okay. Then I go through and I list out all of my equipment because I have large trucks, dump trailers that we're gonna need for hauling dirt, cleaning trucks for cleaning. I'm gonna be using my excavator on the site for 2 days. I have all of that stuff. And then we even own our own pump and we charge for our pump. So a lot of people always say, Tyler, why do you charge for your equipment? Does your customer get to keep it? And that's always the stupidest question because unless you actually own a business, right? I have about $300,000 worth of equipment on this job site. And so of course, if I wanted to charge my customer just for the equipment and they got to keep it, I would charge at least $300,000. And that's not how it works, right? But we also have other expenses in the business, like running the equipment, AKA gas. My equipment breaks sometimes. I gotta do maintenance. So that's why I charge for my equipment. And charging for equipment is actually a good thing for the customer because imagine how much I'd have to charge them if all I was doing is doing all this by hand, right? Then we're really inefficient. Then it's actually more expensive for the customer. So even though I'm charging about $3,000 on equipment for this project, it's still gonna be way cheaper for my customer than if I was just charging them my man-hour hourly rate, okay? Then what I do, if you see here, I add together all of my material expenses, and then it says 20% markup, but this is actually marked up 20% twice. So our concrete cost is only $170 per yard, but we mark it up 40%-ish to get us about $255 per yard. So I mark up my materials about 40%. And you'll be able to see that here. I know this looks a little bit weird, but that's just based on the software that I'm using. So you can go through and add all that up. So when I add together my man hours, my man-hour hourly rate, all of my equipment, my materials, then I come to the total number of $21,500. So to me, my square foot pricing literally means nothing. Because what if this project was in an area where I couldn't get equipment in and it was gonna take a lot longer, right? Then instead of me being there for 70 hours for prep, I was gonna be there for 140 hours, right? I need to accommodate that. So then I would be charging about $28,000. Or vice versa, what if I wanted to lower my man-hour hours because everything was already graded, the customer was gonna do some of the excavation himself, and it was only gonna take me 50 hours to prep up, right? So again, the cost per square foot literally means nothing. So step number 1, that's what we did. But then as an upsell, we said, hey customer, if you allow us to do the driveway at the same time, we could get you a freaking heck of a deal. And why can I do that? Because again, if I'm already there doing the shop, for me to throw on a driveway, it's only gonna take my crew like an extra day or 2, and it's gonna be allow me to be more efficient because I have more things for my crew to work on while I'm there, okay? And so that's part of our sales process, which I'm about to get into, but I'll just leave this up here. You're gonna see I did the same thing. I charged about 100 man hours for this project between prep and pour. I had all of my materials in, marked it up 40%, and that came out to be about $11 a square foot. So that's how we priced it. And then moving on to number 3, which is how we closed this project, even though we were more expensive. The number 1 way is follow-up. you'll see in our system that we got this lead in September. We're doing this job 3 months later, right? And at first, the customer really didn't know what they want. They thought they just wanted a shed pad. But because we had a different sales process, we talked to the customer, we got to know them, we told them their possibilities, we built that trust and rapport. They ended up getting engineered drawings, permitting through the city and everything right away because they actually wanted a big shop and a foundation. Like, how cool is that? So number one way is follow-up. We don't just talk to people, throw them a number, and then never talk to them again. We would never close that many jobs, right? And I use a software, which I'll link down below, that does a lot of our follow-up automatically because as contractors, we always get busy and we all know that we need to be doing follow-up, but none of us do it. And I wouldn't do it either if it wasn't for software, right? We have to be smart business owners and work smarter, not necessarily harder. Number two is we had a different sales process. When the customer first called us, I didn't just call him and say, hey, let me come check out your shed pad, and then go out there and then, send him a number for the shed pad. Like, the customer wouldn't have got what he wanted. And so what we do is more of a consultative sales approach. So when they call me, we do a phone call before we ever drive out there. And we say, hey, customer, we just want to get to know you, your project, like, what do you want? And we want to see how we can help. And so through diving in a lot deeper with the customer, we helped him realize what he actually wanted, which is key. And now all of a sudden he trusts us more. And because he trusts us more, even though we came in a lot higher than my competition, we have all kinds of cheap people around here, right? And when you're not getting referrals, you're getting just normal leads, you have to stand out. If you get a referral, it's easy to sell jobs for more money. And that's the other thing that drives me crazy about some of the other influencers in the industry is they're like, oh, if you just get a referral, you could charge good pricing. It's like, no crap, dude, but then how do people get started? That means that no one ever is gonna get into the industry. So if you get a lead and they don't know you, they don't trust you, you have to build the trust by having a different sales process. And number three is we get enough leads. I don't just get one lead a month and I have to close that job, right? I get 100, 150, 200 leads in my busy month per month. So that way I have enough swings at bat. What if you went to a baseball player and you said, hey, you're only gonna get one at bat over the next 10 games. So you literally have to hit a home run. And if you don't, you're gonna be fired. It's like, well, then no baseball player would exist, right? You have to get enough at bats, and batting average is important. But if you're not getting enough leads, then getting these type of projects is gonna be really hard. So with that being said, that is all I have for you in today's video. I really hope that you like it. Let me know in the comments if you like this style of video or if you like more of the talking head style, because this is a little bit new for me. But I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you like seeing a little bit of the back end of my business. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.